Hi BookTube, it's Amy, and I'm back again reading from the Anatomy of Bibliomania by Holbrook Jackson. Today we're on page 98 with a section titled Against Idle and Desulatory Reading. Difficult works only are advocated by many earnest authorities who hold with Musonius that, and we've got a Latin phrase there so I won't try to pronounce that, but it translates to not a translation. Our footnote just gives us a reference with abbreviations that is unintelligible to me. But I think maybe our next line here is going to tell us what that is. To relax the mind is to lose it, and that books are primarily a means of mental exercise, literature a gymnasium for the intellect. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. Health is preserved, strengthened, and invigorated by the one. Virtue, which is the health of the mind, is kept alive, cherished, and confirmed by the other. In the sweat of the brow is the mind as well as the body to eat its bread. And we've got some Latin again, followed by what I'm assuming is the translation. It is wholesome and bracing for the mind to have the faculties kept on the stretch, like the effect of a watch in Switzerland upon the body. They would have us read only books with a sting, records of profundities, books in which to burrow, mole-like, or to gnaw at as the beaver gnaws his log. Another argument, which may be derived from the precedent, is that the use of reading is to aid us in thinking. Nicholas Breton meant as much when he let his scholar assert that words are without substance when they are layered for easy believers. Quoting from the Angels' Conference with the Scholars in Works, and it looks like edition Kentish. Coventry Patmore also puts in a caveat against easy reading, giving out that to anyone who seeks more in reading than the merest amusement, it is not the less pleasant because the way is somewhat rough, and there may be many great boulders and even craggy hills, which he must avoid and go round instead of over. On the contrary, the way often sparkles with gems of forgotten novelty. And if you do not understand 1/10 of a treatise by Aristotle, St. Augustine, St. Thomas Aquinas, Swedenborg, or Hegel, what you do comprehend remains engraved in your memory like a precious intelligo, because you have been learning things and not gossip about things. Not to follow such precepts, they argue, is to destroy both mind and taste. A generation which reads rubbish, or even, as Harrison expostulates, Zola's 17th romance, can no more read Homer than it would read a cuneiform inscription. And I think it's interesting the way our perspective have changed to refer to Zola as kind of desulatory and idle reading, because now he's counted in as, one of the writers of the great French classics and is considered serious reading. There is no creative or moral value in the sewage outfall produced by them that have made literature a mere trade. To read such stuff is no real enjoyment. And we have another phrase in Latin here. To be addicted to it is a vice. To manufacture it is a crime. They are not books, these things. To imbibe this compound is not to read. Some believe that culture and reading are one. Culture is reading, Matthew Arnold contends. Not, he warns us, any kind of reading, but only that with a purpose to guide it and with a system. And he contends that a man's life each day depends for its solidity and value on whether he reads during that day, and far more still on what he reads during it. Lord Chesterfield was so much of this way of thinking that he never tired of advising his son to unite the manners of a courtier with the knowledge of a scholar, to join what is seldom joined in any of my countrymen, books and the world. He counterselled Lord Huntington to suspend his classical studies during the Grand Tour and divide his time between reading the state of Europe from Charlemagne downwards and learning the present world by seeing it with his own eyes. But although it is necessary to observe life, to read men and women unbound, still the best companions are the best books. Quoting there from Letters to Lord Huntington. Ben Jonson laid down that, as it is fit to read the best authors to youth first, they should be of the openest and clearest, as Livy before Salsett, Sidney before Donne. He warned against letting them taste Gower or Chaucer first, lest falling too much in love with antiquity, and not apprehending the weight, they grow rough and barren in language only. When their judgment grows firm, they can read both old and new. But he would have them take heed that they not be corrupted by their new flowers and sweetness. Advice which Frederick Harrison extols. Idle reading debilitates and corrupts the mind for all wholesome reading. But this is only half true, for in many instances corruptible minds are already corrupted. Sir W. Waller expostulates against desultory reading, running from one book to another as a bird skips from one bough to another without design. It is no marvel if they get nothing but their labour for their pains, when they seek nothing but change and diversion. They that ride post, he says, can observe but little. He would therefore fix his study solely upon those books that are of most importance to fit him for action, which is the true end of all learning, and avoid, with Friedrich Harrison, the misuse of books, the debilitating waste of brain in aimless, promiscuous, vapid reading, which is of like kind with the poisonous inhalation of literary garbage and bad man's worst thoughts. In their guesses at truth, Augustus and Julius Hare have an equally notable inventive against such reading, which they account mischievous because it turns the memory into a common sewer for rubbish of all sorts to float through, and by relaxing attention destroys those powers which would soon be most improved by it. Opposing these extremes, some fortify themselves with Pliny the Elder, and we have another passage in Latin here, which I believe translates to, which was copied by Cervantes, or rather not. I think perhaps we're not getting the translation at all. So I will try to struggle through what I think it says. Nullus est liber tem malis, qui non ex aliqua parte prosit. And our footnote just takes us to, it says in Pliny. So that bit in Latin followed by, which was copied by Cervantes, when he made his Bachelor in Don Quixote, claim no book so bad, but something good may be found in it. So perhaps that is the translation there at the bottom of the sentence. No book so bad that something good may be found in it. Lawrence Sterne never read any book without drawing profit from it. So also Elizabeth Barrett Browning, as she claims in Aurora Leigh. I read books bad and good, some bad and good. At once, good aims not always make good books. John Hill Burton was of the same opinion. It is difficult, almost impossible, to find a book in which something either valuable or amusing may not be found, if the proper alembic is applied. Books known to him were curious and amusing, even from their very badness. And Lord Sherbrooke was so bold as to tell the students at the Croydon Science and Arts School in 1869 that any reading which amused created a taste for reading. Therefore he commended novels and even frivolous books. I find support for this theory in the experience of Hewling Jackson, a notable practitioner in the art of trivial reading, when he had a mind to it, or rather no mind for better stuff, for he was an admirer of Dr. Johnson, Jane Austen, Trollope, and Dickens. In such moods he would read the most trivial rubbish, and the effect would be beneficial, for he would return to his serious writing with added zest and spirit. In fact, he found these works not only restful but fertile. He could throw a novel or titbits aside and proceed at once to record any recondite speculations which had flashed into his mind. This sort of reading was a form of rest, for the moment his brain felt tired he betook himself to his novel again. There is so little danger from alleged bad books or good books, which some presumed bad in them, that so safe a guide as John Ruskin would let a young girl loose in the library as you do a fawn in a field, to browse at will upon knowledge as the fawn upon herbage. Risking ill weeds, it knows the bad 20 weeds times better for you, or rather the bad weeds 20 times better than you, and the good ones too, and will eat some bitter and prickly ones, good for it, which you had not the slightest thought were good. Quoting from Sesame and Lilies, which is where I recognize that line from. Which recalls again Lord Sherbrooke, who advises us to form a habit of reading at all costs, not minding what the taste for better books will come. When you have a habit of reading the inferior, thence all is well, for Aquila non captat muscus, as Glanville reminds us. The eagle flies but at noble game, and a young Alexander will not play but with monarchs. He that hath been cradled in majesty and used to crown and sceptres will not leave the throne to play with beggars at putpin, or be fond of tops and cherry stones. Neither will a spirit that dwells with stars dabble in the impure mud, or stoop to be a playfellow and co-partner with delights with creatures that have not but animal. All of this, which arguments are summed up by Milton, where he says that a wise man will make better use of an idle pamphlet than a fool will do of sacred scripture. Like a good refiner, he will gather gold out of the drossest volume, whilst a fool will be but a fool with the best book, yea, without a book, for, as Nietzsche advises, no one can draw more out of things, books included, than he already knows. So that since, as Shaftesbury advises, read we must, let writers be ever so indifferent, there is no need to deprive wise men of their chance of wisdom in order to keep fools from that which is no hindrance to their folly. And I think I agree with what conclusions we're coming to here. Idle and desulatory reading, just fine. If you're able to comprehend deeper things, then you will find yourself reading and comprehending those deeper things either way, and those, quote, idle or desultory books aren't going to stop you. But that's the end of that section. We are 101 pages into the Anatomy of Bibliomania. The next section here is titled Vain and Pedantic Reading Condemned. So we'll leave it at that for today.